Hello, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about what could be coming in the next expansion pack in the Sims franchise, The Sims 4 Life and Death. Hopefully this video will be up in time to mean anything, because recording takes forever, and editing sucks, and life is hard. But join me in our wild speculation journey. And yes, this is a Google Slides presentation because I am a huge nerd. To set the context and recap what's been going on here, on September 5th, the Sims team revealed the theme of this next quarter of content, the season of To Be Continued, which, as a sentence, I really just hate. But to me, this is the most abstract theme they've ever really put forward, and it's honestly been confusing the shit out of me. In any case, during this quarterly reveal, the Sims team dropped a bombshell that was a expansion pack first look date and its launch date at the same time, which is unheard of and honestly pretty hype, so I'm grateful for it. So what does this mean? Who knows? So let us blindly speculate together. A few things to mention before we kick things off. I have no idea what's actually coming. Clueless, no idea. This is all stuff I personally would like to see. This might not float your boat, or this might not be what you expect the pack to be. I could be completely off. I don't know. This is a really broad one. Life and Death is the most generic thing you can probably name your pack, but the possibilities are endless. This is not an exhaustive list of things. The pack is not going to have nearly all of this stuff, since our pack wish lists tend to be the size of 3 Sims 4 expansion packs in one. I'm hoping some of the stuff I mentioned today comes in the base game, but I have no idea. We'll see. I never like to get my hopes up for this. Now that the Sims team have publicly stated that The Sims 4 is sticking around, it's honestly time for them to put their money where their mouth is. They came out swinging with that awesome base game update with all the swatches, which I was honestly so happy to see, but do not hit the brakes now. I expect this to be the first opportunity for them to show us what they're willing to do for us going forward. And besides, you can't advertise a season that you describe as full of possibilities if you're not going to deliver some cool shit. Now, let's dive into the gameplay first. So I've separated my ideas into 2 categories because it's life and death, so we'll start with the life part. So first up, astrological signs. It's time, I think. They've literally been in pretty much every single Sims game. It's another layer to your Sims personality. It seems to fit very well with the roadmap theme. The different Sims games have had different implementations of astrological signs over the years. Sims 2, it really influenced the Sims personality, whereas the Sims 3, it was more compatibility based. I think for the Sims 4 specifically, I think it would be better if we went with the Sims 3's version, just because it's something simple and because we don't have the personality point system like in the Sims 2. My only thing with this is that if you own Growing Together and Lovestruck with all the new compatibility systems and attraction and romantic satisfaction and all these other social systems that they've introduced over the last few years, I feel like it could get a bit much if there's another layer of personality and compatibility just slapped on top of all that, but who knows. So, some new careers, of course, and you'll recognize some of these from past Sims games or from surveys that the Sims team have done over time. The Reaper career, which I believe they mentioned in the last Stuff Pack survey, the one where Nifty Knitting won. A Reaper career was part of the Happy Haunts concept. I think it would be a fun active or freelance career. And for Fortune Teller, I really think they should do it similar to the Sims 3, where they have a Mystic branch and a Scam branch, because I think that's hilarious. And I always need more ways to mess with other Sims. New social events, such as a funeral or a celebration of life. This seems like a given because somehow we still don't have a funeral event in The Sims 4. And as an alternative to that, I really like the idea of being able to have a celebration of life, because I like the idea of being able to base it on the personality of the Sim that died, and having the option to choose between these 2 events would be really cool. Next up, lifetime and long-term relationship. So this is something that we have not seen in The Sims 4 yet, of course. Even The Sims 1 had this feature. It came in the Hot Date expansion. It's essentially a second friendship bar that allows for better differentiation between an old friend and a friend you literally made yesterday, which I think we really need, because every relationship feels so shallow and so similar in The Sims 4. And I understand with Growing Together and with Lovestruck, they've added a lot of features to try to at least diversify relationships, but I feel like it's still quite shallow, so I think having that differentiation is really important. And for the next feature, what better to put the life in Life and Death than a new woohoo spot? There are a few gameplay objects that I would love to see in the game that we will touch on later that could accomplish this. So more features in the life part, more content for elders. I know that the most recent survey had more life stage specific questions, aka do you want more child specific content? Do you want more teen specific content? Elder specific content? And yes, the answer is yes. I would really like more elder specific content. So seeing that in the survey kind of dashed my hopes for this one, but I want to mention it anyway because a witch can dream. I'd love to see games, stuff like shuffleboard or sim version of bingo, like name it Simgo or something. Group events would be cool, like swim classes or being able to play bingo as an event. That would be super cool. I would love to see elder specific traits and aspirations. We did get one elder specific trait in For Rent, which I thought was really, really cool. And I really want to see more things like that added to the game. This one, I wasn't sure how it would be done, but I think having like bucket list level types of goals would be really, really cool. This might not have to be specifically for elders, but I would love it if an elder would be able to have something similar to the midlife crisis feature from Growing Together, just goals that they want to do before they die. Some of them can be vacationing in Granite Falls or exploring in Selva Dorada, like mastering a skill. There's so many things they could do for this. I would really, really love that for elders. It would really add a lot more gameplay specifically for them. Next up, I would love to see something related to wills and inheritance. The first thing that popped into mind when I was thinking this up are the 7-day marriage calls that we got in Eco Lifestyle, where you have to marry somebody within 7 days and then you get a shit ton of money, or you call them on their shit and they give you $2,500. That event, being able to like specifically choose who you leave your fortune to would be really, really cool if you'd like it to be a different household. Or you can donate your fortune to charity and leave your relatives all pissed at you. One thing I'd love to see would be the concept of hereditary traits, which I know sounds kind of crazy, but hear me out. I would love a checkbox on the trait selection screen whenever your sim ages up past a toddler, or they can inherit a parent sim's trait. If you select this, the trait would be selected randomly amongst all the valid traits that the parent sims have and assign one to the child. Maybe I only want this because I'm lazy, but I think it could have some really great story opportunities as well. Okay, now on to the death part. First thing, this is going to come as a shock to everyone, but new deaths. I know, it's plural because there must be more than one. So I think it's crazy that we don't actually have the ability for our sims to get scared to death in game. We've got a playful emotional death, we have an anger emotional death, and we have an embarrassment emotional death. But I don't understand how we don't have a scared emotional death. We have the scared stage, and then if your sim is really scared, they become terrified. But it's insane that we don't have a third stage for the scared emotion. We should have, it could be called petrified or horrified, but I kind of think it's crazy that we do not have an emotional death for scared to death. Maybe I'm missing something because I can't believe this is not a thing. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Next, I want a ghost overhaul. Ghosts have the potential to be so cool, and they are so shallow right now in The Sims 4. Make them a proper occult type. I want them to have their own interface with levels and powers and a skill tree like vampires or spellcasters or whatever. I would love to be able to haunt specific sims. I think that would be really fun. I personally would really love to terrorize Nancy Landgrab. Maybe the whole Landgrab house. Yeah, the whole house. Ghost-specific aspirations would be really cool, like maybe resolving unfinished goals or just creating chaos or haunting a bunch of people. More death, new resurrections, I think would be really cool. I don't know if a resurrection counts as the death part or the life part, but it's here because, I'm sorry. I had a couple ideas for resurrections. Some make more sense than others. The first one being, I just want to fight the Grim Reaper. I know in previous Sims games, you've been able to do like a violin contest with him or other things. You can beg, plead, whatever, but I would like to fight him and not a verbal argument. A fist fight. I would like to fist fight the Grim Reaper to resurrect a sim. Thank you. Another resurrection thing I'd like to see is something sciencey, like a Dr. Frankenstein type of vibe. Something that can be botched maybe, so we can get zombies? There were zombies in The Sims 2. I want them in The Sims 4. Just make it happen, Sims team, please. All right, let's talk about build buy next. Now look at this photo. This is a photo from the new Storybook Nursery Kit. There is clearly gravestones in the back. Now, they could have gravestones in their backyard, but what if they live next to a cemetery? I really need a cemetery in the game. It seems pretty freaking ridiculous that we don't have a cemetery lot type, please. And it'd be cool if it was base game. I bet we'll get some new lot traits. Something like, we could get Ghost Hangout, which is pretty self-explanatory. We could have something like Eerie, where your sims are constantly scared while they're there. I want a new lot challenge. Something like Angry Ghosts. Just imagine having a bunch of red ghosts on your lot, just breaking all of your stuff all the time, waking you up, just causing chaos all the time. Sounds awful, but I want it. The more build buy stuff, more specifically build and buy items this time. Tarot cards, this seems like a given because of the theme. If they don't give us tarot cards, this is all false advertising. Next up, Ouija board. I don't know why paranormal stuff didn't include one, but justice for the Luigi board. I'd love more types of gravestones. I'd also love crypts or mausoleums, and something like a mausoleum could be a great woohoo spot. A gypsy wagon, this was in previous Sims games. Makes sense if they add the gypsy career. Again, another option for a woohoo spot. And finally, my last thing for build mode is one that hits close to home, and it's spiral staircases. I want them. I want them, and I think it's time. I don't understand why we don't have them. It makes me the big sad that we do not have spiral staircases in The Sims 4. It's just beyond comprehension. So hear my plea, Sims team. It's time. Come on. Look at this. I just want this. That's all I want. And next up, it's time for Create a Sim. Obviously, I'd love some new traits. Whenever we get 1 trait or 0 traits in an expansion, I lose my mind. So please, Sims team, more than 1 trait at the very least. But some that I'd like to see are something like unlucky. In The Sims 3, an unlucky sim could be just brought back to life by the Grim Reaper if they died prematurely, because the Grim Reaper would just take pity on them, which I think would be a great concept to include in this expansion. I would also love a cowardly trait, also fits the expansion. When they're scared, they can faint often or pee themselves easily. I'd love to be able to create a ghost and create a sim and create other occult types. So this kind of follows my previous point about making ghosts a true occult type in The Sims 4. It would be cool to be able to select their type of death, as that has an effect on the ghost's behavior and sometimes its appearance. Of course, I would love to see some new aspirations in this pack. Something like a gold digger would be really fun, or something more intense like a aspiration similar to the Black Widow challenge, where your goal is to marry rich men and kill them to create your fortune. I would love that, as I'm always down for more chaos. And as I've mentioned before, ghost-specific aspirations would be really, really cool. In terms of the fashion, I would really love to see a lot of black suits and little black dresses, because if they add funerals, we need adequate funeral attire. And I know if you own a lot of packs, you'll have probably adequate funeral attire, but base game is never enough. I also would just love better clothing than the goth kit, because I never bought the goth kit, but reviews were fairly mixed at the time of release, so this would be the Sims team's chance to try that again, and maybe touch on more than one type of goth. And I'd like more elder-specific customizations. I just find there's not enough like wrinkles and stuff for the face that can really, really drive home the elder look. More skin markings, stuff like that would be great. I'm sorry, that's all I have, because I do not play Create a Sim very much. Okay, here are some other things that I wanted to mention at the very end here. So the world, I would really love to see a rainy Scottish Highland vibe. I think a dreary atmosphere would be very fitting for this type of pack. Not necessarily Forgotten Hollow level, but I'm really thinking like rain, fog, and cloudiness instead of dark. Hopefully that makes sense. But if the expansion is good enough, I really don't need a new world. We have a ton of new worlds. It's always nice to get more, but every time we seem to get one, people are always disappointed with the amount of lots we get, the lot types, stuff like that. So just like Seasons, if the expansion is done well, I can forgive not having a new world. There were a couple things I wanted to talk about for UI and settings as well. I would really, 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 really love a setting to disable emotional deaths, because they are annoying. I understand the silliness behind them, to literally die from being too embarrassed or being too angry. That's kind of hilarious. But when you're not expecting it, it's a nightmare. When you have a sim that just aged up into a young adult, so much promise and potential, and then they just die because they got too excited and playful one time. Not fun. Especially if we got a death like I mentioned before with the scared emotion. Having a setting to disable these deaths would be such a game changer. I'm just such a big supporter and cheerleader for more settings in game, because the more you can customize certain aspects, the more it can appeal to a broader range of people, and the more barriers you can remove for people that don't like certain features of your game. Just let them turn it off. It would be so nice. This one feels like a long shot, but the Simology panel, if you own even just a handful of packs, that panel is a nightmare to navigate. I constantly have to manually collapse every section and keep them collapsed so that my disorganized brain can stay sane. It drives me nuts. I can never find what I'm looking for. My God. So that's all I've got for now. But like I said at the beginning, this is just speculation. This is all stuff I personally would love to see. I think it's things that the Sims team could realistically add to fill a lot of holes that The Sims 4 still has in its gameplay and depth. The pack won't have nearly this much stuff, of course, unfortunately, and I really hope a good portion of this comes in the base game. Things like funerals, things like spiral staircases, like those are things that should be added to the base game. I've essentially just thrown a bunch of stuff at a wall and I'm hoping some of it sticks. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I've had so much fun putting all of these ideas together and building my nerdy slideshow. I know this might not be the most exciting video, but I really love speculation videos, and I hope that those of you who seek those out really like this one too, because I feel like this expansion has so much potential to add some cool shit. But again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!